Part 1, the defining moment, silence or reaction. There's a fragile moment in every confrontation, a breath, a glance, where you have to choose. Do you stay silent or do you react? Most people almost instinctively choose to speak. They explain, they clarify, they say, "That's not what I meant. You misunderstood me. I'm not like that." It sounds reasonable. It sounds fair. But the moment you speak to defend yourself, you give away your most valuable weapon, power. Why? Because when you explain, you're saying their judgment matters. You're acknowledging the accusation deserves a response. You've stepped into their frame. And even if your words are clever, you've already lost the game of perception. The average person wants to be understood. The strategic mind wants to stay in control. Machiavelli never taught you to be seen as good. He taught you to be untouchable. And the first rule of power is this: stay silent. Not because you're weak, but because you don't need to prove you're strong. Part 2. When you speak, you lose control. Every time you speak to defend yourself, you step into a battlefield that isn't yours. You're no longer in control. You've accepted their stage, their frame, their game. And in power dynamics, that's the first sign of weakness. Because the moment you explain, you silently admit something. I need you to understand me. But pause. Why? Why would a lion need the approval of the sheep? Why would someone in control feel the urge to be seen as innocent? The answer is simple. They wouldn't. The strong never clarify. They never chase perception. They let silence do the speaking. Because in the world of influence, silence isn't absence, it's dominance. It's the creation of a space so still, so composed, that others begin to question themselves instead of you. Let them talk. Let them spin their story. You remain the blank page. And sometimes a blank page makes people more nervous than any story ever could. Part 3, the power of silence. The silent one is always the most unsettling presence in the room. In a world where everyone is rushing to speak, to prove, to defend, the one who stays quiet becomes the most unpredictable and the most powerful. Silence isn't surrender. It's strategy. When you choose not to react, you deny the attacker their script. You don't give them your energy, your emotions, or your validation. And that shakes them. They begin to second guess. Was I too harsh? Why aren't they responding? Did I make a mistake? You flip the focus. Now they are questioning themselves, not you. Silence is the art of controlling the frame without ever touching it. You don't fight back. You don't retreat. You simply hold your ground and let them spiral on their own. The attacker expected sparks, tension, maybe a breakdown, but instead they get cold, still silence. And that silence confuses them, unsettles them, weakens them. Sometimes it's not the roar that frightens, it's the stillness you can't explain. Silence makes your enemy wonder, are they facing a harmless soul or a lion waiting for the perfect moment to strike? Part 4, silence creates legends. When you say nothing, others speak for you. They fill the silence with their imagination. And that imagination, unpredictable, wild, exaggerated, is what builds your legend. Silence is fertile ground where myths are born and power quietly grows. People fear what they don't understand. And when they can't read your thoughts, they start making assumptions, often bigger than reality. They must be calculating something. They're silent because they know something we don't. They're dangerous, unpredictable. And yet, you've said nothing at all. That mystery makes them cautious. Nobody dares to belittle someone they cannot figure out. Nobody mocks the one who remains calm in chaos. Instead, they assign you labels: powerful, strategic, dangerous, Not because you claimed them, but because your silence made them believe. Legends aren't always written with words. Sometimes they're sculpted in silence, shaped by the space between what's known and what's feared. And in that space, respect is born. Respect that gives you the upper hand without you ever lifting a finger. Part 5. When you're attacked in public, you don't need to defend in Bojan. In meetings, at parties, or on social media, when someone throws a jab, the instinct is to defend, explain, clarify. But the truly powerful don't do that. They don't fight on the terms set by the weak. They stay calm. Or they reply with a cold, sharp line. Interesting take. That's it. A steady gaze, a subtle smile, a short response that carries more weight than 1,000 justifications. You're not silent because you're afraid. You're silent because you know who you are, and you owe no explanation. The calmer you are in chaos, the more others take notice. Your silence becomes a statement. I don't play your game. I'm above it. And in that moment, the power shifts. The attacker starts to look uneasy, desperate. The crowd doesn't see you backing down. They see the attacker scrambling for attention and failing, while you remain composed, untouched, as if the insult never even landed. That's not weakness. That's control. In a world addicted to reactions, the one who doesn't flinch holds the real power. Part 6. Turn attacks into a mirror. You don't always need to fight back. Sometimes all you need is to hold up a mirror and let people see themselves in it. When someone calls you arrogant, you don't rush to deny it or act humble. You look them in the eye and say calmly, "Strange, why does confidence make others so uncomfortable?" Suddenly, the spotlight shifts. It's no longer about you. It's about them. When someone says you're fake, don't get defensive. Just reply, "People usually say that when they can't benefit from you anymore." A sentence like silk covering steel, soft in tone, sharp in meaning. Without raising your voice, you force them to pause, to reflect. You're not arguing, you're reflecting. Because insults often reveal more about the speaker than the target. When you turn their words into a mirror, you hold your ground and make them face something they didn't expect. Themselves. That's the art of strength. Not lashing out in anger, but letting your calmness be the thing that undoes them. Part 7. The psychology of attackers. They crave your reaction. Attackers don't want the truth. They're not looking for answers. They're looking for something far more emotional. Your reaction. Every glance you give, every word you say fuels them. They feed off your discomfort. They grow stronger when you lose your calm. But when you stay silent, they freeze. They don't know what to do next. They're like actors on stage, performing to a crowd that refuses to clap. Confused, unbalanced, angry. Then they unravel. They shout louder, dig deeper, but with no direction. Your silence becomes a mirror, no target to hit, no grip to hold on to. Eventually, they destroy themselves. Not because you fought back, but because you left them with nothing to fight against. In the hands of the wise, silence isn't retreat. It's an invisible strike, sharp, deliberate, and devastating. Sometimes, the loudest noise dies in the presence of unshakable quiet. Part 8. Control your emotions to control the emotional frame. In moments of deep emotion, love, family, relationships, people are most vulnerable to manipulation. A phrase like, "You don't care about me anymore," can send the average person spiraling, rushing to explain, defend, even beg for understanding. But the Machiavellian mind doesn't play that game. It doesn't step onto the emotional stage set by others. Instead, it responds with calm, with clarity. That's not how I see it. Just 6 words. Cold, composed, unshakable, Not meant to soothe, but to take control of the frame. When you don't react to someone else's emotional pull, you become the conductor. You don't get dragged. You steer. You don't plead. You reset the rules. In every emotional confrontation, the one who stays calm always holds the upper hand. True control isn't about having the perfect answer. It's about never letting someone else's emotions rewrite your narrative. Part 9, the vanishing tactic. When attacked, most people feel an urgent need to respond, explain, argue, block. But those who understand power on a deeper level know that's not the game. The real move? Disappear. No replies, no explanations, no drama. Just vanish, like you never existed. And that's when chaos begins, for them. The attacker spins in confusion. They were prepared for a battle, but the battlefield is empty. So they spiral, overthinking, overreacting, talking to the void. Each moment of your silence drives them deeper into their own mind. There is nothing more unsettling than striking at silence. Nothing bruises the ego more than being ignored into oblivion. As they unravel in public, posting, ranting, exposing their instability, you remain silent, composed, untouchable. Vanishing isn't retreat. It's a calculated strike. You do nothing, yet they destroy themselves for everyone to see. Part 10. Reclaiming power through words. When accused, the weak defend themselves. I'm not like that. But those who control the moment never explain. They redefine. Instead of denial, they redirect. A comment like "you're arrogant" gets answered with "interesting." Seems confidence really unsettles people. You don't push back. You elevate the conversation. Words are not for defense. They're tools to shape power. Every sentence you say isn't about proving who you are, but about making others wonder, have I misunderstood the whole thing? You don't speak to be accepted. You speak to shift the entire narrative. And when you do speak, you speak like someone who doesn't need approval, only for people to question themselves. Part 11. The aura of untouchable silence. Truly powerful people don't raise their voice. They don't explain, don't post rebuttals, don't react, because every response drags them into a game they've already won by avoiding. Their silence isn't absence, it's a declaration. I am so far above this, I don't need to respond. And that silence, it creates an aura that's untouchable. People may not like them, but no one dares to strike, because their calm presence makes you feel too small to make a dent. It makes you question your own impulse to attack. The ordinary defend themselves with words. The exceptional, they defend themselves by simply existing and letting the room adjust to their presence. Part 12. When you stay silent, others speak for you. When you choose silence in the face of attacks, you're doing something few dare to do. You refuse to play the emotional game your enemies set. And then something powerful happens. People around you, observers, start to feel uncomfortable on your behalf. Your silence becomes so loud, so dignified, that it stirs a response. You never ask for pity. You never beg for defense. But by staying calm, you awaken a sense of justice in others. They begin to speak up. They push back. They defend you. Not because you needed it, but because your silence inspired it. This isn't just empathy. It's the peak of social power, to inspire protection, loyalty, and respect without ever asking for it. Part 13. Tactical silence in real combat. You don't flinch. You don't argue. In a world where emotions are weapons, the one who controls their reaction controls the narrative. When someone mocks you blatantly, you don't respond. Your calm gaze says everything. They don't shake you. When someone throws a passive jab, you meet it not with anger, but with a composed piercing. Oh, really? Your tone is neutral, but your eyes are steel. This isn't just a response. It's a reframing of the battlefield. To master this game, you use 3 strategic weapons. Silence. Let them expose their own weakness in the void of no reaction. Redirection. Shift the topic, move the energy, take away their control. The killer line. Brief, sharp, final. Okay. Noted. Time will tell. Power isn't loud, it's cold, quiet, and calculated. Part 14. Power doesn't come from fighting back, but from immunity. The strong still react. They flare up, defend, argue, and lose their grip. But the immune ones, they don't even flinch. They feel nothing. No need to explain. No urge to defend. Not even a flicker of emotional reaction. True power isn't in striking back. It's in not needing to. You don't need to be right. You don't need to win the argument. You win the moment you refuse to be pulled into their game. You don't fight. You rise above the concept of fighting itself. When everyone waits for your reaction, you answer with silence. And in that silence, they shrink. You are absent from the battlefield, but you're the one who shapes its outcome. Part 15. Redefining yourself through silence. Sometimes power doesn't come from what you say. It comes from what you choose not to say. Silence, when used with intent, is not avoidance. It's authority. When you don't explain yourself, you strip others of the power to define you. You don't fall into the trap of defending yourself based on their perceptions. You don't hand them the script of your identity. When you stay silent in the face of provocation, you're not retreating. You're building an invisible wall of strength, one that commands caution. That silence forces others to fill in the blanks, to doubt themselves, to question what they thought they knew. Every word you don't say becomes a quiet but undeniable message. I don't owe you an explanation. I know who I am. The weak speak to be accepted. The powerful use silence to redefine themselves beyond the limits others try to impose. You no longer need validation to exist. You no longer need approval to be respected. You enter a room without saying a word, and yet your presence alone demands space. Silence, when mastered, is not the absence of sound. It's the presence of power. It keeps you undefined, untouchable, unshaken. You become an unpredictable force in people's minds, and that is true power. In a world where everyone is desperate to be heard, to be understood, to be defended, the one who chooses silence steps out of the game and becomes the one who controls it. Don't defend yourself. Don't justify. Don't react. Every time you stay silent, you reclaim control. You refuse to let them drag you into their emotional battlefield, a space ruled by judgment, insecurity, and chaos. Machiavelli never needed to be loved. He only needed to be feared. And so do you. You don't need validation from the crowd. You don't need everyone to get you. All you need is calm, presence, and an aura they can't touch. Because in the end, the most dangerous person in the room is the one no one can read. And if this episode sparked something in you, if you found strength in this mindset, leave a like, share this podcast, and hit that subscribe button on Kunzy Podcast English so you don't miss the next episodes, where we'll go deeper into the psychology, the power, and the strategies that shape high-level thinking in a chaotic world. Let your silence echo louder than their noise. Let the world talk. While you lead,